It's a story you can read on page 4, and they're saying toughest week cabinet replacement. President has called for prayers as he picks his executive one that is not only professional but also appealing to youth. Dialogue deadlock. The multi-sectoral team is expected to begin sittings today, but many members have given it a wide berth. Kware killings. The mystery of at least 13 bodies dumped in Kware ought to be unraveled by the security agencies. And Gen Z protests. Youth have said the demonstrations are going on this week in spite of changes in government and security forces. So a quote attributed to the president yesterday: I have opened a new chapter. I am asking for Kenyans to pray for me so that I can come up with a cabinet that will help me achieve the promises made to Kenyans. You can read that on page 4. I also see Slum yet to come to terms with Kware murders. DCI boss says the nature of the injuries on the bodies recovered so far point to an organized gang, but villagers say it is police. It's a special report on pages 2 and 3, and of course horrific scenes ever since those bodies were being retrieved from that quarry. And of course we hope and we pray that we will get a closure of what is really happening and what led to the deaths of those young women in that quarry. And the post-mortem exercises, they begin this morning at the city mortuary, and we are hoping that this will be the beginning to finding justice to all those who lost their loved ones, those who lost people in those heinous ways. Terror, 4 killed, grenades recovered. Weapons recovered include a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, 4 RPG warheads, a PKM machine gun, 3 AK-47 rifles, 7 AK-47 magazines, and 5 pistols. It's a story that you can read on page 11. I also see Kalonzo tough stand against dialogue, splits opinion. It's a story on page 7. Kalonzo amesema amekaa ngumu. So is Kalonzo finding his voice, or is he just the perennial ditherer? That is the question they are asking. In the wake of the Gen Z backlash, Kalonzo openly abandoned his coalition partner and the president. He told the two to read the mood of the nation. That is a story you can read on page 7. The last photo was meant to be the most profound, and you can read that story on page 7 because they're saying at the steps of the KICC, the men who had forged a new partnership would show off their unity. One cog, the person who had co-chaired the dialogue between President Ruto and former Prime Minister, was conspicuously missing. Moments earlier, that Tuesday morning, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka had brandished his copy of the newly amended IEBC Act. Read more on that story on page 6. Governor threatens mass protest over killing of fishermen. It's Turkana Governor Jeremiah Lomorukai. Read that on page 6. I also see on the world stage Trump hurt in shooting incident. It's a story you can read on page 24. Shocking assassination attempts. They were saying it was an assassination attempt against the former President Donald Trump. Flower farms use contracts to cut costs. Page 20 on the business section. I also see the pullout, health and science, the pullout puzzle of village plagued with birth defects. Poverty and ignorance are the top barriers to seeking medical advice and treatment, and for expectant women, missing antenatal visits raises the risk of death and birth defects. They zero in on Mpirani village in Kilifi County, where over 100 cases of birth defects have been recorded among newborns, on page 4 and 5. On the counties section on page 16, appeal court declares death for violent robbery constitutional. Judges made the pronouncement in an appeal by 6 convicts of robbery with violence. They were accused of robbing Rukia Asman of property worth 50,000 shillings. You can read that on page 16 inside the county section. Then we check the business section, flower farms turn to short-term employee contracts to cut costs. Union terms the move unfair, saying it has far-reaching implications for the workers, says new trend is meant to lock out workers from being represented. State has not leased out swathes of Kwale mineland, according to CS, says PS Mining Elijah Mwangi. You can read that as well. The back page, the 5 breakthrough stars of Euro 2024. You have the names there. Dani Olmo of Spain, Austria's Marcel Sabitzer, and Georgia as well. Georgie of Georgia. I also see Mark Guehi from England. And foundation launched in honor of the late Kiptum. You can read that as well. Legend Kimutai living his dream of nurturing stars. It's on page 30 and 31. And new faces to parade in Kisii during national championships. Dagoretti High among big names that will not be in Kisii for the nationals. Unstoppable Kanzwanthe Secondary extend girls volleyball reign in Eastern. And of course, the final of the Euros was on last night. Spain versus England. And of course, if, England was saying it is coming home. Spain had other ideas. And of course, after 90 minutes, Spain emerged victorious. So Spain are the 2024 Euro 2024 champions. 2-1 was the scoreline.
Again?
Yeah, 2-1. I know the consistency.
It's like this is our identity now.
And actually, it's in agreement, other than in England, that the right team won the tournament, because they have actually beaten some of the big teams en route to the final. And so they are worthy champions. Congratulations
to them.
Right.
All right, let us go to the Daily Nation. And of course, the very top story here is all about crime. Acting IG Douglas Kanja transfers all officers at nearby police station as residents protest police theories on city quarry deaths. And 2 more bodies were fished out of the quarry dump site yesterday. And that is even as top detective Mohammed Amin said his officers are looking at various hypotheses, including the involvement of a serial killer, rogue medical practitioner, or cult activities, since the victims, all women, were killed in a similar fashion and bodies dumped at the same spot. And this is a story on pages 2. And I'm just being reminded of the cases that we had, so many of them in January, whereby this same kind of thing was actually happening, and it was discovered in so many instances. Could it be that whatever was happening in January is just more like a repetition of the same now happening, but now these people found and devised a way to make sure that they're hiding this evidence only for it to be found? We do not know, but we will be on the lookout to see what happens. But I think this is a call for us to really pray for our nation, because this means that there are people in those high places, the principalities are real, and all these forces are everywhere, but we need to keep praying so that that strong man in those spiritual matters that is not of God will come down in Jesus' name. And of course, the story on page 3, Trump assassination scare as White House path gets clearer. Donald Trump was shot in the ear in an attempted assassination during a campaign rally on Saturday, an attack that will likely reshape his year's U.S. presidential race, while raising sharp questions about security provided to the Republican candidate. The suspect was shot dead by Secret Service agents. But we were just talking earlier on and saying, it makes no sense. This guy was not even far.
No.
100, was it 118 meters? Like literally 100 meters is a very short distance. He was somewhere at the top. So how is it that the Secret Service
missed that? Doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
Because then again, as they, there are many theories. There were others who are saying that the Trump team were trying to stage manage whatever had happened. Then again, we're asking ourselves, someone is dead.
Is dead.
Yes, so it can't be stage managed.
It can't be.
It can't be.
Yeah, and of course, videos were also surfacing of this young boy who is just 20 years old, saying that he hates Trump.
They are asking why. What was the motive?
Yes.
That is the motive.
He has said he hates Trump and all that, but it was an assassination attempt. Haikufaulu.
Yeah, but we thank God, because it would have been, when a leader of such caliber.
Come on. I would have
in 2024.
Hata stories za Kenya kwanza tungeweka kando, because this would have been so big and huge. Yeah. But there's just so many things happening, like political shifts are happening, not just in Kenya. It's literally everywhere, even in Africa. Unapata pia African countries wameamka. They're seeing what Kenyans are doing, and they're like, hata sisi, by the way, we need to get up and actually fight for our nation. But, we will continue keeping you up to date with everything that is happening. Yep. And of course, you've touched on most stories, but allow me to also look at this. Cracks widen in Azimio over Ruto's call for talks. So opposition coalition convenes today to take a common stand on dialogue initiative that has the backing of ODM and its leader Odinga, pages 4 and 5. And of course, right about now, the Gen Zs are against Raila.
Yeah.
We are seeing so many.
Saying we don't want any politician.
Yeah.
That's their message. Yeah. So we don't want, it's not like we are we are getting rid of this, hand over to this.
Yes, no.
Yeah, they are saying we are clearing.
We are clearing everything. Yes. We want something new. But it's interesting what also Ruto is saying here, that President William Ruto says the challenges he's facing would only make his administration stronger and more efficient. That is a very interesting attitude to go, on it with, because as opposed to him saying, it's coming down, he's like, no, this challenge is what will strengthen, is what will make it efficient. We can only sit back and watch.
Yeah, someone over the weekend was saying, being a leader in Kenya in 2024 is very easy, but also it's very hard.
True.
It's very easy because you know what people want. You know what the nation needs.
Yes.
It's very hard because the people know what they want.
Huwezi ingia hapo kuwacheza ati manifesto.
No. The civic education actually that is happening in Kenya now is on another level. Every now and then you hear there is a space. They are discussing this bill. They are discussing the constitution. Last night there was a huge one. It was on the national debt and where we are as a nation. So it's a very enlightened nation.
Yes.
And so it's not about, it's not the narrative now. Before the narrative was being pushed by the political class. Unfortunately now there is a woke generation.
Very woke.
They want to be the ones leading the narrative.
Yes. And it's so funny because you would think that the Gen Zs are very disinterested with politics. And even my own sister, she's a Gen Z. She's just 21 thereabout. And literally, siku hizi mamangu ananiambia she watches news. At 6:40 anasema ikeni news.
Can you imagine?
Well, what's happening in our country? They want to be involved. They want to be part. And wanajua sisi, the millennials and the ex-millennials, tumezoea hard life. Like there's a way you've grown up. You are used to hardship. You are used to, you don't know what soft life is.
It's part of life.
You are like, this hour tumezoea. But Gen Zs, these people that have been born with a silver platter, you can't tell them anything. Anyway, we'll continue to follow up on the same. And this week we also have to be careful. Remember, Maandamano is said to be happening tomorrow and also on Thursday, being that everything is happening. There's just a lot in our country. Let's keep praying. And even as Ruto has requested for us to pray for him, let us actually pray. So that
he needs that courage.
He needs the wisdom. Yes, he needs it for sure. But moving on quickly, I see on page 8 is something very, very interesting. Second Skill Up Africa Expo and Conference that is happening today and tomorrow. That is World Youth Skills Day. I think most youths will actually get involved with this because I see here that no skill is too small. It all depends on what you do with it. So I see some furniture made by carpenters trained at local TVET institutions find their way to shops abroad, meaning they're appealing to consumers far and wide. So whatever little skill you may have, you don't have to be jobless. Use it and get down to it. I'm sure it is going to give back. I also see here on the Junior Sport DN2, cycling is my way of life. This is Gabriel, an award-winning cyclist, often rides his bike to school. I see here cycling inspired Wambogo's dream to become an orthopedic surgeon. Very interesting. I see he recently emerged top in a bike fest hosted by his school. The fest attracted over 1,000 riders. This is very interesting. You know, allow your children to actually pursue these things. I mean, who would think that him loving, the cycling has inspired him to want to be an orthopedic surgeon, which is a very, very good thing. Gabriel here is saying it's not just about winning, it's about feeling stronger and more focused. Riding has helped me concentrate better in class. This is really, really interesting. You know, changing the whole trajectory. Usione ni kama ana waste time akifanya mambo kama hayo. Actually, it's sharpening their brain. And on the back page, Kipyegon, you haven't seen nothing yet, folks. Faith Kipyegon saying that. And I see here global stars to converge on Paris for Olympic Games from July 26th to August 11th. I'll run the 5,000 meter race first in Paris, then the 1,500 meter, which is my favorite. I'm ready for the Olympics. I expect bigger things, she says. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that story on the back page. And of course, page 31, we have secondary schools term 2 games are going on. Claims of cheating, Chaos Rock Nyanza games in Kisii. And I see page 30, Nyali golfer Muraya eyes glory in finale. He shoots an excellent 44 Stableford points to win his first tourney since 2013. And that's it for the Daily Nation.
Right, quickly, the Business Daily, they go with the headline, Toyota dilutes state with $1 billion thicker vehicle assembler buyout. New investment will raise CFAO stake in KVM to 98%. Takeover set to shake up local assembly market share. Read that on the front page. And on page 2, Kenya oil dream delayed further as Tallowfield plan rejected. It's on the front page. I also see Kenya spends 153 billion in a year to repay China loans. Read that. Bamburi protects buyout deal with 683 million shillings fee. And why court declined to suspend housing levy. High Court declined to temporarily suspend sections of the Affordable Housing Act, stating public interest tilted in favor of allowing the law to operate. And Kenya eyes new Eurobond in 2026. Kenya eyes a return to the international capital markets with a fresh Eurobond in 2026 ahead of the maturity of a similar paper a year later. You can read all those stories inside the Business Daily.
Beautiful. And we've come to the end of our newspaper review segment. Grab a copy of your favorite. And of course, right about now, it's time for us to have a look at the video of the day.